This meeting of the Seguin Independent School District has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. 1B, we'll do the pledges to the United States flag and Texas flag, followed by a moment of silence. And today, Ali Avalos, a third grade student from Bogle Elementary, will lead us in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Ali. Now we'll have a moment of silence. Now we'll move on to item number D. Excuse me, item number C, 1C, which is the superintendent announcements.
Thank you, Board President. Thank you, Board President Guerra and board members. Good evening, Matador Nation. I hope everyone had a safe and restful Thanksgiving with friends and family. We have 3 busy weeks ahead of us leading up to our winter break. Here's a recap since our last regularly scheduled board meeting, plus a few future events. On November 2nd, I had the privilege of accompanying the Seguin Education Foundation on the annual Surprise Patrol event. This event, SCF visits campuses to award classroom grants to teachers. As you can imagine, teachers were thrilled to be surprised with a check to fund special projects geared to enhance the classroom experience for their students. In all, SEF awarded 66 grants to the tune of $67,000, including the first STEM grant in the name of the Roland and Jane Bloomberg Foundation. My leadership team hosted an appreciation luncheon for our 4 middle school counselors on November the 6th. These counselors provide extraordinary support for our students as well as our staff. A big thank you to Kelly Averett and Marilyn Pallison of Barnes Middle School, and Patrice Luna and Daniel Garza of Friesenmeister Middle School for all that they do. As a relatively new staff member, I enjoy visiting campuses and meeting the people who take care of our students day in and day out. One of the highlights is being invited by our Child Nutrition Department campus staff to have lunch in their respective cafeterias. I enjoyed meeting the Ball Early Childhood Center Child Nutrition staff over lunch on November the 9th, and look forward to doing the same with the Barnes Child Nutrition staff on December the 13th. And they serve healthy portions. Our Seguin High School ROTC program hosted an outstanding Veterans Day ceremony on November the 10th. Our students recognized the service and work of all Seguin ISD employees who have served our country during their careers. Today, employees from Austin ISD visited Seguin High School to tour our career and technical education program offerings. Tomorrow, we are hosting representatives from Floresville ISD who will be on campus to learn more about our cosmetology and building construction programs. We are Matador proud to showcase these programs and the work being done by our Seguin High School teachers, students, Mr. Boo, and SHS campus administration. Members from the Matador Band will provide an early performance on Friday morning at the annual KWED Toy and Food Drive supporting the Seguin Police Department Blue Santa program. Come and hear the band play holiday favorites from 7 to 8 a.m. at the KWED studios on Court Street. Be sure to bring toys or non-perishable food to support families in need. All are invited to the graduation walk at Mercer Bloomberg Learning Center this Friday at 12:30 p.m. To date, Principal Jay Law and his amazing staff have successfully supported and guided 20 students who have earned enough credits to participate in the graduation ceremony. Be sure to show your support for Matador Athletics and Seguin Sports Booster Club on December the 6th at Meet the Mats event in Goldie Harris Gym at 6:30 p.m. Girls and boys teams from tennis, me encanta jugar tennis, golf, soccer, and basketball will be introduced. Students in band, choir, ROTC, cheerleaders, and the Star Steppers will be on hand as well. Plus, our very own District 4 trustee, Miss Linda Duncan, is emceeing at the event. You do not want to miss that opportunity. Happy holidays, Seguin ISD, and remember, it's a great day to be a Matador.
Thank you, Dr. Ricky. Now we'll move on to item 1D, which is the board members report, and we'll start on that end with Madam Malone.
I have nothing to report except that I will be at Sabre Friday at 12:30. Right, Mr. Al? Sir. I'll see you then.
So the week before Thanksgiving, I got to do a couple of really good things. I went over to Weiner for the first time to see that campus. It's not really in my district, but I do have a relative that goes there, so I wanted to go see him, see that campus, because on the board we take care of everybody. And so I got a great tour by Mrs. Way. Thank you for that very much. Great campus, obviously. The reason why it's on the list for the bonds, if you build a new one. It's a beautiful, there's lots of beautiful classrooms, but this space is, it's time to be reinvented. So look forward to that progress when that comes along. And I got to enjoy lunch there, and then again on Thursday at Vogel for my kids from the wonderful lunch that Child Nutrition put forth. And it was exactly the same at both places, and it was very delicious both times. And lots of good comments from everybody that had that lunch. So thank you, Child Nutrition, for putting on a great show and hosting all the parents at all the campuses for the entire week. That's something to be said for them. So thank you again very much for that.
Well, Josh, I also ventured out of my district and was able to go to Jefferson Avenue Elementary for the second grade's first ever Thanksgiving parade. Felt like I was at Macy's because they made balloon floats, and they each one made one, and it was very special, so I appreciate being invited to go to that. It was just lovely. I love a good parade. And just FYI, there's a parade on Thursday evening, so don't miss that downtown Seguin. And I'll be emceeing that as well, so hope to see you all there. That's it for me.
Nothing to report on.
I attended the Veterans Day celebration as well, and I thought that our JROTC did a wonderful job, so I was very happy to attend that. I'm very proud of all the veterans that we have on our staff. And I'll put in a plug for the choir, who's also singing extremely early at the KWED on Saturday, and at Sip and Stroll, or I'm sorry, on Friday, and at Sip and Stroll on Friday night, so go see that.
I was gone for much of the month out of state, but I did manage to get some fun things in. The most recent one is I got a tour of McQueenie Elementary on the schools, and it was really fun to see all the kids there and all the classrooms, which definitely need to be reinvented a long time ago, but they're so excited about what's coming up for them, and a lot of them talked about that they were excited as well. So that was a fun start for me in my relationship with McQueenie Elementary. I also have been an organizer for things at Ball Early Childhood Center, and it's kind of through my church that we do this, but I do most of the organizing. So we organize volunteers for their Scholastic Book Fair, and we also manage some money so that they could have all kids have a book at the book fair. We have Next Online, we have a lunch for the staff, and also we are giving gift cards to needy families through the school. So that was my first month.
I also attended that ROTC Veterans event, and it was a great burning event for the ROTC. Another event that I enjoyed a lot also at the Rodriguez Elementary School. November the 16th, they had a parents graduation reception. So a total of 13 parents that went to the graduation. I guess very impressive. It was a bilingual setup, so it went very well. So now we'll move to item number 2A, recognition campus presentations. 2A is student, staff, board community recognition, and Sean Hoffman and Dr. McKee will present.
Good evening, Board President Guerra, Dr. Vigil, Superintendent, and Trustees. As you know, each month our campus principals designate deserving students. We are privileged and honored to recognize during our regular school board meetings. And this evening we do have 3 of those students on tap. Students, please step forward with your family as we announce your name to receive the Superintendent's Student of the Month Award. You heard her lead us in the pledges earlier. Ali Avalos. Ali is a 3rd grade student at Vogel Elementary School. Her teacher, Ms. Anderson, notes that she models all the qualities of a Vogel student. She is responsible, respectful, and safe. You never pass Ali in the hall without seeing her smile and getting a quick hug. She is always willing to help out a classmate and serves as a student council representative and is a member of the Matador Kindness Club. Ali's parents are Monica and Jeff Avalos. Congratulations, Ali. Let's hear it for Ali once again. Our next honoree is Jadaniel Rodriguez. Jadaniel is an 8th grade student at Rieselmeister Middle School. His teachers report that he is an excellent student who consistently models all 4 of the AJB graduate aims. He always shows active engagement in class and exhibits effort and perseverance in his academics. He is also a devout athlete competing in football, basketball, and track. Jadaniel's mom is Autumn Davila. Congratulations, Jadaniel. Daniel, what do you like better, football, basketball, or track?
I like
Basketball? Okay.
I just listened to Sam.
Oh, you did?
Congratulations.
All right, Daniel, congratulations. Next up, we have Christina Kalunga. Christina is a senior at Mercer Bloomberg Learning Center. Principal Jay Law reports that she is very hardworking, she finishes assignments ahead of time, and is always on task. She goes beyond what is required for her daily efforts and work. In fact, Christina's attendance was so good that she qualified for an early release schedule. In addition to finishing up early, all of her work at MBLC has been graded as either an A or a B. The MBLC staff is looking forward to celebrating with Christina this Friday as she graduates. Christina, yeah, let's go. Christina's family includes Laura Angara and Raul De Leon. Congratulations to you, Christina. Let's give it up for a student graduating this week.
Next up is the Apple Award. This month's Apple Award recipient is highly regarded by her peers and has inspired countless students to explore STEM-related subjects. Her innovative teaching methods involve creating engaging stations that encourage hands-on learning and spark curiosity. She integrates 3D printing into the curriculum, which allows students to bring their creative designs to life and develop a passion for technology and design. She organized the Elementary Typing Wars contest to promote typing skills among students in the district. Her commitment to developing the students' skills ensures proficiency in technology and the digital world. Tonight's honoree is a 12-year employee of the district. Originally, she served our students as a bilingual aide at Ball and then at Vogel. However, since 2016, she has served as the Technology Lab Manager at Vogel Elementary School. Let's have a warm round of applause for our November Apple Award recipient, Susanna Moss.
Ms. Trainer have to lie to you to get you here?
Yes.
And I supported her the whole way.
I'm gonna take one while they're.
I'll move on to item 2B, campus highlights, and I'll let Dr. White make the introduction.
This evening, we are Matador proud to learn about activities and initiatives in our schools. Let's welcome Vogel Elementary School Principal Rhonda Trainer, who is here to share information about blended learning with a focus on reflection and goal setting, as well as an update on the Admiral Day outdoor learning experience. Ms. Trainer and her team.
So that's how I got Ms. Moss here, because I told her she was our technologist. And we were presenting, I needed her to come in. So.
She said yes.
Yeah, so we did. So, good evening, Dr. Behill and President Guerra and the rest of the board. We're excited to be here to showcase Vogel and our blended learning and Agri-Lay, just to kind of show you some of the fun things we've been doing. So, here we go. Oh, I don't have the clicker. I was waiting for Mr. Gonzalez to take care of us. All right, so we developed this guiding belief as a team last year, and we wanted to share this because at Vogel, we believe that everyone can learn by promoting a unified culture of growth and self-efficacy to achieve whole child success. And this is very important to us because the whole premise behind blended learning is student choice and voice. And so that's what we're trying to build as we move through this.
All right, so talking about blended learning, which is one piece that we are implementing at Vogel, we've been working with Ed Elements, so their definition that we've kind of worked with them. Blended learning is the integration of technology with great teaching. This approach empowers students to build ownership of their learning. Student-centered learning calls on educators to be responsive to the needs of their students by leveraging both online and offline resources. And then off to the left, that kind of graphic represents the core four, which our teachers will be talking about a little bit more here in a little bit, but reflection and goal setting, targeted instruction, flexible path and pace. Oh, at the mic. Yes, flexible path, and if you want us to go back, press the button. There we go. All right, you want to go back with the guiding belief? You're good. You're good.
I'm glad.
Okay, so our core four, and our teachers will get to explain that a little bit more in a little bit, but our flexible path and pace and the collaboration and creativity, which leads to the student ownership and making sure that they are empowering students for their ownership of their own learning.
Maybe I need someone else to do this.
So within the core four, the one that we've really been focusing on and implementing in every classroom was the reflection and goal setting. So with reflection and goal setting, all students are able to set goals based on their data. They reflect on their personal goals, academic, and just personal goals. They articulate their own strengths and weaknesses, and they choose their workstations based on their personal goals. So with having the reflection and the goal setting, it really fosters that student ownership. So after each of our modular assessments, we do a Shade Our Success, where each student looks at their own data and they see where were they successful. So this is a student in my classroom. Her name is Lila Duro. She is just going to talk about her Shade Her Success and where she kind of goes from there after her module test.
After our test, we use our Shade My Success to keep track of our goal, and my goal this week is 4.2A.
Can you tell me about this a little bit?
This is where we keep track of what our stations are, so we know which one to go to. After our
All right.
So this is Emily Briscoe. She's a 5th grade student. We use weekly reflections, and so the student choice, they choose whether to complete this on paper or on Seesaw or just record a video. So this is her with her reflection.
We get these reflection papers every Friday, and some things that we put down are, I feel this way because this week was very long and I was very tired, and that's also optional. My goal is 5.3b. This teak is about multiplying 3-digit by 2-digit. My favorite station was extensions because I'm working on my game board. My least favorite station was Zern because it's very frustrating when it doesn't work. Something new I learned this week was how to use fraction models.
So every student at Vogel has a data binder, and so this is the cover that every student has. These are some photos of student ownership. So the students holding up these trackers here, those highlighted portions are from their data assessment, and they practice that goal 3 times, and then there's a mastery check, and then once they've mastered, we highlight their next goal based on their data.
We threw this in.
Okay. So this is just kind of, the right side is that zoomed in version of that data tracker. So it's showing the dates that the student practiced that goal at their workstations, and then their mastery check percentage is on that right side. You can't see it, but it's on that right side, so that's when we highlight that next goal. And then on the left, this is like a blank copy of a 2nd grade version, so it has each teak listed, and then the days that they practice, and then that column to fill in their mastery check. This is in each student's data binder. Every month after the iStation assessment, we shade in whether they were level 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we also write their score, and then we set their goal for the very next one. And then this is the Shade Your Success that was in the video of Miss Hamilton's student. So this is created using our district assessments. So each teak is correlated to the question number from that module assessment. And then at the bottom, they choose one teak that they're doing really well in, and they talk about why they think they did well with that, like showing strategies, or I worked really hard in practice on this. And then on the right side is where we set our goals. So they choose one teak, and then underneath, we talk about how they're going to reach that goal.
All right, so if you wonder why I have these ladies presenting so much, Brianna Green is our blended learning specialist. So she's helping all the teachers. She does many academies for them, and she goes on learning walks with them along with Miss Hamilton. So she's really taken this kind of spearheaded the blended learning with the teachers on campus. So who better to present than her? All right, so the next one of the core 4 that we moved into is flexible path and pace, where the students engage in targeted instruction based off of their Shade Your Success. And they do this through collaboration with peers, teacher table, independent task, adaptive technology, and then eventually they get to collaboration and creativity. They're always collaborating with peers, but the creativity portion is happening in some of our classrooms right now through creation stations. So that's at our highest level of core 4.
Here are some examples of how our teachers are collecting data in the classroom. These are our academic monitoring trackers. So just some different examples from different grade levels, math and in reading. And whenever they're giving students their independent work, teachers take these recording sheets around and they're checking off observations that they're seeing, and this helps them pull their small groups. So whenever they're working in guided math or guided reading, then they use that data to pull those small groups. All right, this is an example of a student's personalized playlist. So after they pick their goal, beginning of each week, they will go through and pick their stations for the week. So they'll write down the station name and then the teaks that go with it. And they have to make sure that some of their stations that they're picking do match the goal that they've selected from their reflection and goal setting piece. And then here's an example of a student that has filled out their personalized playlist. And here is how our teachers are utilizing technology to support instruction. So we love our clear touch screens. They're a big hit. So we have students using it in stations. So down there in the bottom right are our little kindergartners that are using it in a station for reading. And then we also have some examples of teachers using it during Tier 1 instruction. And then the top middle is actually they're using a feature of the split screen where one student can work on the left and the other student can work on the right independently, like they don't mess up what each other's doing. So that was an awesome example there. All right, the next component of our redesign model is our AgroLay outdoor learning experience. And since we're Matadors, we call it AgroLay. And here you're meeting our chickens on the left. Our garden, that was a picture from last year, but it's kind of fall right now. Not a whole lot's growing out there, but it's getting started. And then our butterflies, so that's some of the pictures they took of some butterflies out and about. And then here's our garden getting started on the right. They're planting, getting it all leveled and getting all the dirt settled. And then on the left are some pictures of a harvest from last year in the spring. And then our chickens, meet our flock, our lovely flock of chickens. And they're collecting the eggs, making sure they have feed and water. And then at the bottom, our garden as well. And then some more on the left of them collecting the eggs, getting the garden all fixed up. And then during fair week, they made pickles. So they used some cucumbers and they learned how to make pickles from those cucumbers. So they enjoyed learning all about that from the produce from the garden. And we would like to thank our community supporters who have helped us with our AgroLay, our class outside, Century 21, Dietz Tractor, Shield Construction, Seguin Cattle Company, Boomba Sarama Farms, Maldonado Nursery, and our awesome Vogel PTC that helps us every day, and numerous parents, grandparents, friends that came out and helped. There was too many to list on our slide. So thank you to our supporters. So thank you, that's Vogel's.
Any questions or comments? By the way, you're going to ask what we're doing with the eggs. So tomorrow we're having a breakfast. They came up with our plan.
And how do you decide at the end that it worked? What are your
So we'll know it works when the kids are successful. On their mastery tracker, after they've practiced their skill 3 times and they master it, we'll know we've been successful. We're successful when kids can speak to what they're doing. We'll know we're successful when kids take ownership of their learning. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it like daily. They're making gains daily with just how they interact with each other, how they interact with the curriculum, and how they are taking ownership, how they're reflecting, how they understand what they're doing now. Yeah, it's neat. It's really neat to see. So come visit.
I was going to ask along those lines, when every day that they're tracking themselves and writing, do you think that the light bulb kind of goes off and that I'm really working on my own pace and I can see the results from
I'm going to let the masters.
They see it every day. I think that I had always tried to reflect with kids, but when it's really specific to a
goal as in like the teak, like specific to adding and subtracting fractions, and then when they're picking their own stations, whereas usually they were assigned on Monday you do this, Tuesday you do this with a certain group each day, but now having the ownership of like, I picked this because this is my goal, and then having them write that down, I did practice this today. Yeah, I think it really builds ownership, and they're ready, like every week, I'm ready to take my mastery trip then, so, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Jubilee and staff.
Thank you.
It was wonderful to see hands-on when the kids can actually get their hands in the dirt, so to speak.
I know, they're doing it all too.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
So now we'll move to item number 3, which is audience with the board, and no one signed up in the audience. And before I go to item number 4, I would just like to recognize our local Boy Scouts troop that's here visiting us today. They're learning a little bit about governance, and hopefully maybe one of these days they'll decide to run for office. So we'll move on to item number 4, reports/information items. 4A, introduction of the newly appointed administrators. Joel Trevino will present.
Good evening, Board President Guerra, Dr. Hill, board members. Tonight is my privilege to introduce 3 newly appointed administrators in Seguin ISD. First, I would like to introduce Dr. Samuel Hogue. He is the interim deputy superintendent. Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Jill Nash, Director of Community Outreach and Seguin Education Foundation. And last, your humble servant, Juan Trevino, Chief Human Resources Officer. We can go back to our seats.
Thank you. And I was going through the resumes and credentials. I noticed that if you include Dr. Vihila in there, we have 3 in the administration that have a collective experience of over 90 years in education.
Lots of experience.
Now we'll move to item 4B, Seguin ISD Board Construction Update. Bill Lewis and Carla Romero will present. Welcome back, Bill.
Good evening again, President Guerra, Dr. Vihila, members of the board. Tonight, Mr. Lewis will be presenting our bond update, and it's going to be an overview of all our bond projects currently going on.
Thank you very much, President Guerra, Dr. Hill, and school board. It's glad to be back in front of everyone. I know I know all of you except Ms. Miller, but I'm Bill Lewis. I am retired about a year ago here from Seguin ISD. I was the deputy superintendent at that time. So glad to be back working with Mr. Catania and the team on projects that I hold very close to my heart. They've put a lot of work and time and blood, sweat, and tears into while we were here. And so it's been kind of good for my soul to be back to work with these fine folks and to immerse myself in these projects. So thank you for that opportunity to do that. So tonight we're going to talk about our bond projects that are in progress and a little update on where we are. So we're going to first look at HAB, we'll look at McQueenie, Barnes, and Ball tonight, and then we'll do a brief rundown of everything else where we are in the processes. So first we have Breezenmeister. You know, this was a unique project, one where you're just building on top of people through the whole process, adding some new footprint, and then pretty much renovating every square foot of the original building, and also renovating some of the what we call the newer part, the one here on the far left. The process, look at some of the dates. Currently, the 100 wing was scheduled to be done about now, but that has been pushed off. We're saying summer, but it should be done around spring break is the target date for that 100 building. That's what we use, the old science labs. We call them the old science labs. They're still in great shape. There's a lot of, we'll show some pictures here in a minute. That renovation has started. Everybody has now moved into all of the classroom spaces in the school. I believe only 1 or 2 portables are being used for, I believe, for like the behavior unit that is at the school at this point. Is the only thing because that would end up going into the 100 wing. So all the students for their classes are now in the new building, I believe, starting yesterday. When I was there over the break doing punch list, a lot of teachers there working, moving in, setting up their rooms and getting those ready in the new C wing, which they moved in. The library is also now being moved into and set up and in progress of being set up. The office is scheduled. There are people in the office, kind of on a, we'll call it like a squatter's rule or so right in the office right now. They're in a few spaces. The furniture has not been moved into those spaces because not to prohibit any of the punch list items. So they're kind of on tables and chairs that are just kind of sitting in the middle of the room or so. The punch list has been made, and those fixes are being done right now. So they're occupying the office, but it is not in full use. Kids aren't coming in there; they're not really using it. But that is a scheduled move-in date before the next semester starts into the new office. So we'll get a few pictures here. First of all, the road front, the sign with the video board is awesome. It's what a great way to approach the school when you come in. Everybody comes right by this to pull in so you can message and send great messages out. And it just looks great. Schools never had anything that looked that good. On the bottom right is the front entry canopy. You can see they're prepping. They've tried to get you ready to pour a couple times, but the weather has not cooperated, but that's coming to be able to pour the concrete in front of the schools for the new parent drop-off pickup area and have those canopies in use. A couple of new things that have gone in last week. You can see on the left, that is the main entry hallway when you come in the new front entrance. And for long-time Seguin folks, those are the pieces of the trees that were removed from the campus to make room for the new footprint in front. So these things have been reused in the decorative piece. There's also large trunks for sitting areas also in the front. So you can see where that's incorporated. And there on the wall it says Rooted in Excellence. On the right you can see the new front office is come along pretty nice. Like I said, we just punched that area. By punch, I mean we inspected it for the nicks and cuts and stuff like that last Monday morning. So they're working on that right now. This is the new C wing area. This is the common area, just like the other 2 areas that you're familiar with. You can see the furniture has been set up and put in that area in the C wing. And the bottom right is an example of one of the classrooms, the teacher there. They were setting up their classrooms still on Monday. Here on the top left is the teacher's lounge in the C wing. And then there is a picture of the science classroom in the C wing. This is the 100 wing demo started right away on Monday, so you can see there already, this was the area that had been opened up, and at one point it was the library. I'm not sure what it was previous to this, but they were using it after it was library 2 years ago. I'm not sure what it was right before, but that's moved out. You can see them removing partitions, and they're in the ceiling, starting to pull things out, also in the hallway there. So that demo has already started all throughout that building. The changes have begun there. So we're at about 92% completion on this. We've worked through about 70% of the contingency. I think that's a pretty good number to be proud of on such so many unknowns on this project from the beginning. You look and look and look, and we remember tearing down walls and punching through, but you just never really know what's there until you peel back those layers of the onion. So that's where we stand right there, coming up on the last 8%, so we're sitting pretty nice on that piece. There's still a lot of work going on the exterior of the building. That's one area that has not been punched yet. So you're still seeing work done on the exterior, still some roofing work to be done. The lobby area going into the gym is being worked on now as well. And the cases, a lot of the finishes, so that'll continue for a few more months. Do you have any questions about AJB while we're talking on that, so we don't go too far along? Any questions on AJB?
Just have a quick question on the major issues or delays.
Sure. So the delays, there's no one thing you can point to. We can, I think on the last 2 board updates ago, I provided you with kind of a list of items that have led, the combination of items that have led to the delays in there. Some of it was the scheduling, trying to make sure we cause the least amount of disruption. And I have to say, I want to give kudos not only to Mr. Bazanian and the design team, but also to the campus and the administrators. There's been a few administrators over the course of this project at the campus, but particularly Ms. Guzman and her team for just working through and powering through all the what could have been disruptions, but they really embraced it, and just been they've been good about this. It's very stressful, especially on the folks at the campus, and it could have come out in some non-productive ways, but they've done a really good job making sure that the experience there for the kids and the staff has been excellent. Now here they are. Everybody's in a new space starting on Monday, so that's a point of celebration, I think, for that campus. So and that's a couple of months, behind when we wanted it to be, 3 months behind where we wanted it to be, but we're there and we're moving forward, and it's going through. Again, this was a super challenging project, and sometimes the schedules had to be changed to accommodate movement or locations or programs, and then that led to some of the delays. Ordering of materials, there's a lot of labor issues right now, getting especially skilled laborers in a lot of the tiling and flooring, and a lot of those things, just getting those skilled laborers is really difficult right now too. So you take a little bit here that may cause 3 or 4 week delay, something else that may cause a 3 or 4 week delay, and then it just kind of all started to add up where we are right now. So.
Before you move on real quick, could you just touch on that money figure that was on that? Like, to the general public, explain like where the 950 come from and where
Sure.
we're at.
So the 950 was how many percent? 5% of the total cost you set aside for contingency, just for things that are unknown or changes you want to make or along the way. So we are under budget at that point. If we were to use all the contingency, we would be right on budget with all the dollars. So we are under budget right now. Nothing is over budget. None of the delays are costing the district any more money.
So that 950 comes from the bond, the 2019 bond?
Yes.
Okay.
All of these are all bond dollars. And so 5% of that bond was set aside for unknown. We do that standard on all of our projects. So the new McQueenie, this is just a sample of the bottom, of the first floor. Planned as a two-story facility. The most recent actions that have taken place with this project is the exterior and interior design process, where McQueenie staff has come in and met with the design team, and they started working through the colors and the color schemes and the patterns and the materials that are going to be placed into the bid documents at the beginning of 2024 that go out to bid. So we started working through those and these color schemes. The best way to describe it is going to kind of have an agricultural feel to it. With I think some of the designs, you'll see the greens and the golds in this school, with the complementary colors. I think as I saw you see a couple of pictures, you'll kind of see some of the agricultural textures and patterns that are going to be shown through in this. So this is a front view of the school, looking where it become like parent drop-off right here, main entry into the school. This is on the back side of the school. You can see on the kind of the arrow where it's pointing from the view right there. This is an interior view of a hallway. Going down, you can see one of the large staircase going up as well. Here is a view of the library. Here you can kind of see how they've used the greens and the golds. They're kind of using the rows, kind of simulating an agricultural look on a field or such. But this is a color pattern sample that was used in when we were talking about the interior of the school. Here's one of the instructional pods where the classrooms surround the pods. Again, you can kind of see how the carpet's laid out and what those look like, and some of the colors that are in there. So, and again, these are all conceptual drawings. We're still in that process, working through trying to select those colors and such for the buildings. Before we get ready, we're working on the construction documents right now. The project will be bid starting probably in February, and we're looking forward towards a May, turning dirt in May. When I say turning dirt, they've already started, we've already done a lot of the site pre-work where they do all the surveys and all that kind of stuff. We're looking at May 2024, start turning dirt with an August 2026 opening date for the new McQueenie Elementary. Exciting. Questions about McQueenie?
I do. This may be a dumb question because I know you'll probably fix it, but how do you fix the slant and the whole property there that's kind of downhill?
They do it with grading and also with the foundation, just like on a home that maybe. They also are going to build the school is going to be kind of done on levels, so it won't be one straight level all the way across. It'll be done here, and then there'll be a walk down to the next one, and then a walk down to the next one. So it will be built on a slanting down. Is that the best way to put it, Warren?
Yes, right. We'll slope the floors with the grades.
So it won't all be one level where once you have a huge foundation on one side, it's going to work its way down. That's a good question. That does go to the aesthetics of the look of the school.
Accessibility-wise, though, that's not going to be an issue for anyone.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. That's there's very strict laws on how that has to be designed and built. It all will have the right sloping with the right with the right bars and the gradings. You can only drop so many feet, per inch and stuff like that.
And with being a two-story facility, there's going to be an elevator in there.
Yeah, absolutely have to have one.
Right.
Yeah. Plus, there's rules where your younger kids cannot be housed on the upper floors, only your older kids. I worked in a two-story building as a principal for a couple of years, and we didn't have these big, beautiful stairs. We had like stairs and a closet kind of a thing, like old school kind of stuff. And it was, these are going to be these nice open staircases that are big and deep and stuff. So I think it's going to be great. So McQueenie, we're about 75%, maybe a little further along than that from the day we put these together. Yeah, we haven't done any pre-construction or construction on McQueenie yet. Barns.
Can I just say one thing
Yes.
before we move on? like to look into the possibility of doing like a groundbreaking ceremony for the team.
Sure.
Yeah, another question, Queenie, as far as the construction costs. I know, I'm trying to remember the total cost for the bond. Has there been a significant, I'm sure there has been increases in materials since then, but I know that's where the contingency comes in.
It does, but we've talked about what was the final number?
That's
40
45 construction costs.
45 million for construction. And so when we did that, we tried to forecast out what that was going to be at the time, and now we're finding out, you know, we won't know until we bid it, you know, and then you do some value engineering at that point and see what we need to do. But I think we're feeling pretty good about that number right now. I'm really excited about Barnes. And just fixing the parking lot at Barnes is what I'm most excited about. And I know there's lots of families and folks and neighbors that are going to be excited about getting this parking lot fixed at Barnes. But there's also a lot more great things going to happen at Barnes. There's going to be more fine arts facilities expanded to meet our current programming needs, more classrooms, real art rooms at Barnes. This project is coming along. You know, we're going to add, like I said, the addition onto the fine arts. We're going to expand the cafeteria that was way too small for a 3th grade middle school of that size. So that's going to be a great addition. That's going to help out that campus a whole lot when that happens. We are currently working on construction documents. Again, we hope to bid this similar time frame as McQueenie. Award that start in May 2024 and be done in January 2025. I got that date wrong, don't I? I think it's July 2025. I apologize for that. It'll be July 2025, so about 18 months. So it's about an 18-month process. Good thing about Barnes is a lot of it can be done outside the school where it's not going to interfere. We'll talk about when we get to pick the contractor, then we talk about how the inside piece with the cafeteria and stuff will work and how we'll stage that, because you got to keep that kitchen and the cafeteria going. So we'll talk about how to do that with the contractor. So it's coming up quick, and it's going to really equalize our middle school as far as programming availability and what the kids have access to and the teachers. Again, we're about 80% complete with those designs. Moving forward, similar to McQueen. All early childhood classroom additions. This was the pictures in the presentation. I believe you probably got. You can see they were doing steel on November 8th. Here's November 15th. We have a roof, steel on a roof. Here it's from today. We have walls going up. So that's a lot of progress in just a month. It's going quickly. It's going very, very smooth right now. Over the wall. I'm very excited about that. Again, we're looking at July 2024 completion for fall. So, we're about 25% complete on the construction on fall. Some other, and more information about some other upcoming. I know we have the Ag Science Center. I know the design process is going to begin here. The discussions have already started taking place, but I know that design process will begin early 2024. You're going to talk about baseball, softball later today in this meeting. We've started the design process for transportation. The safety and security has been in discussion, and those bid documents will be released by March to continue the security upgrades at the rest of the campuses. And then the furniture piece is in progress, and Barnes is going to be the first campus to receive furniture upgrades. I believe it's going to be similar to, it's going to be the same furniture styles as HAB, so they'll have the same furniture options in both schools. So that school will be done first, and then the other ones will follow quickly after that. All right. Any other questions for myself, or Ms. Perla has the questions on the finance side of it. A lot happening in Seguin, it's exciting. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to continue to be a part of that. It does my soul good to be working on these projects. This team, the board, Dr. Hill, enjoyed meeting with her and getting to know her too, so thank you. Thank you. Y'all have a nice evening.
Thank you, Bill. Now, move on to item number 4C, Seguin ISD Strategic Plan 2025, 2022-23 Annual Report. And Dr. Sandholz and Cindy Gordon will present.
Good evening, Board President Guerra, Dr. Raheel, members of the board and community. With me is Ms. Cynthia Borden, Director of Federal and State Accountability, and this evening we are presenting the annual update for the Seguin ISD Strategic Plan 2025. Members of the Strategic Plan Task Force are also in attendance this evening to assist for any questions that you may have regarding the plan. We will start by stating the Seguin ISD mission, which is to cultivate, inspire, and empower students to grow and learn. Our vision is exceptional students to exceptional citizens. The strategic goals that you see throughout Seguin ISD were developed by first articulating strategic priorities. They are creating and supporting future-ready students, supporting and valuing staff, developing relationships with family and community, and creating a thriving learning community. With these overarching priorities in mind, these 7 strategic goals were developed. They started as belief statements and were formed into measurable goals with criteria. To monitor and achieve these goals, there are currently 30 performance objectives, which are short-term measures of progress, and a total of 80 strategic actions which align to these objectives. These objectives or actions are continually being monitored and revised based on our current needs in the district. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Borden to go over our strategic goals individually and present our current status and working towards achieving these goals. Also, please note that this data is from year 1 of the strategic plan, which is the 22-23 school year.
Okay, so as we're reviewing through the presentation, remember there are 7 goals. The first goal is to increase the percentage of 3rd grade students who achieve the MEETS grade level or above on the STAR reading from 40 to 54% by August of 2025. We had 2 performance objectives that supported this goal. If you'll move on to the next slide, thank you. So here's the status of our goal 1. The baseline again was 40%. Our target is 54%, and after the end of our first year, we achieved 40%.
I think it's important to also note that this is, the standard is set at the MEETS grade level because we want our students to be at or above grade rather than the first.
The next slide shows us how we are on track with the performance objectives that support Goal 1. These 2 performance objectives are, the goal measures the number of grade 3 students, but we also wanted to measure the students in grades 3 through 10 who reached the MEETS or above grade level. And then we did not want to forget about the students in grades K through 2. So we are measuring how they are doing on their iStation. So this slide shows you how we fared towards that. Goal 2 is very similar, except now we're talking about math. So goal 2 is to increase the percentage of 3rd grade students who reach the MEETS performance level or better from 35 to 49% in math. We have two similar performance objectives, and the next slide shows how we fared towards our goal. So again, the baseline was 35%, the target is 49, and the actual was 36%. And the next slide shows how we fared towards our performance objectives. So the percentage of students in grades 3 through 10 on the EOC, or 3 through 10 on STAR and EOC, and the grades K through 2 students, how they perform on their Imagine Math assessment. Goal 3 is also a House Bill 3 goal, and this one is to increase the percentage of graduates who meet the CCMR goal. That's the College Career and Military Readiness. We were striving to go from 39% to 73% by August of 2025. And we have 4 performance objectives for Goal 3. The next slide shows where we are in reaching the goal. Again, 39 was the baseline, 73 was the target, and our actual results were 50%. However, and I think most of y'all are very familiar, we spent a lot of time talking about the changes in CCMR over the past school year. The TEA raised the cut scores for CCMR, and our original goal of 73% would have given us an A for that particular indicator in the accountability system. However, you'll see on the top line of this slide here, a 73 is no longer an A, a 73 is a C. So we are going to have to go back this year and adjust that number because a 73 is not going to be good enough. So just get ready for that. We're going to launch that goal. So the next slide shows how we have fared in the 4 performance objectives that were written to support the CCMR goal. And so you can see how we have made progress in the students who've met the TSI, SAT, ACT criteria in ELAR and math. You can see where we are in terms of the number of students who are taking the SAT and ACT. You can see where we are in the students who earn at least 3 dual credit hours in ELAR or math, or earn at least 9 dual credit course credits in any other subject. And finally, the students who earn an IBC, the industry-based certification. Goal 4 is a big goal. This is the one on the Thriving Learning Community, and there are a lot of moving parts that make up this goal. In fact, we have, goodness, how many do we have? 13 performance objectives that support Goal 4. And so the goal is that we will build a thriving learning community as indicated by a score of 80 or better on our balanced scorecard. So many of the performance objectives are built into the balanced scorecard, and if you'll go to the next slide, please, and the next slide. Let's look at how we are doing in terms of the status of Goal 4. Our goal is an 80 on the balanced scorecard, and our actual score this past year was a 70, so we're marching in the right direction there. The next couple of slides, I believe the next 2 slides, show how we're doing on the balanced scorecard. So of the 13 performance objectives, several of them are in the balanced scorecard, and I don't want to read all of this information to you. That's a lot to stand up here and read. Y'all have it in front of you. But you can see where we are with the balanced scorecard. And then the next several slides show how we're doing on the performance objectives that are not in the balanced scorecard. So we have students who self-report having an overall positive experience in school. We have some of our whole child and social emotional regulation metrics. Some more whole child metrics, and that also includes professional learning and training for staff to make sure that we are in a good position to offer these experiences to our students. And then I think the last 3 have to do with facilities. So creating flexible and adaptive learning spaces, which Mr. Lewis just explained a lot of what we're doing. creating a new facilities evaluation, and making sure that our fine arts facilities are up to par. So goal 5 is improving staff satisfaction as determined by the Organizational Health Inventory, the OHI. We have 3 performance objectives that support that goal. And the next slide will show us where we are. Last year was our baseline data. So our target is to improve where we are in the OHI. So last year we had 31% of our campuses scored above average or higher on the OHI. And the next slide shows the 3 performance objectives and how those support. So we're looking at, the first performance objective is redundant, it is the goal itself. And then we are also looking at the academic emphasis, which promotes rigor in the classroom, and we are obviously trying to decrease our teacher turnover. Goal 6 is that Seguin ISD will improve student, staff, and community perception as determined by the Net Promoter Score. We have 3 performance objectives behind this goal. And the goal for for last year's Vision Week Net Promoter Score remained the same from the year prior. So it went from a -3 and stayed at a -3. A good NPS score, Net Promoter Score, is a good score is 0 to 30. So we're just underneath that. And I'm told by Mr. Hoffman that we've already received the results from the survey this year, and the score for that is actually -6. So we have some improvement to do there. And finally, the next slide shows how we are doing on the performance objectives that support Goal 6. Finally, Goal 7 is our North Star goal. This is the Systems of Great Schools goal, where 80% or more of Seguin ISD students will be seated in an A or B campus by August of 2025. Obviously, we don't have ratings yet this year. It's an unusual year, and so we are unable to report on our status towards that goal at this time. And the next slide shows the 3 performance objectives that were used to guide progress towards Goal 7. And the next slide shows you, these are all of the initiatives and the task force chairs. So even though Dr. Hogue and I are standing in front of you providing information on the progress, it's not just the 2 of us. There are a ton of people that are behind all of this work, and there's a lot of moving parts. So I know we've received some questions that we tried to address in advance. Thank you for the questions. They were very helpful for us and coming here today, but if there are any other questions, we'll be happy to take them.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
Just so, we asked some questions, but just so like the general public is aware of what we're talking about here. The balance scorecard, can you talk to us about where that comes from? Who makes up the balance scorecard?
I can try.
Okay.
And I say that I can try because I was not involved in the original piece of it. So I'm stepping into that role. But the balance scorecard is a tool that was developed to help address all of the non-star components that make up a good district. It is, I'll say, self-created. We get to pick what the measures are that are being, the indicators that are being measured, and we get to pick how they're being measured. So we get to pick those cuts first. The idea is that the district and all of the campuses, we want them to be an 80 or better. And those are some of the things like attendance, discipline, whole child and social emotional learning. Those are some of the components of that balance.
And there's also perceptions and things like that that are measured. So I think that concept comes kind of from the business world, where you create a scorecard of things that normally may not be measured, and you attach metrics to it, and then you set goals based on that, so that measures them.
With that balanced scorecard, how is that going to make the district improve our image in the community? We're saying we're going to do we did very well, but according to the other goal that we were looking at, the community around us doesn't see that we are doing those great things. So how do we use this scorecard to improve that other goal?
Excellent question. I will try to address that, and Dr. Hogan step in. That's like an onion trying to answer that question because there's a lot of layers involved in that. The Net Promoter Score was a question that you sent over. We're not getting enough parent involvement in that survey, so we need more parents to answer that so that we can see if there is alignment between those two scores. A lot of the balanced scorecard is also, those are measures that are used to determine what good schools are. So they're not necessarily things that were just picked randomly. They're research-based measures, and we know that when you do well in those measures, that schools will eventually fall into a better perception.
Yes, and we do things like the community outreach, set goals that you're gonna have this maybe activities where you're gonna bring parents in, or you're gonna do some types of outreach, either things you're doing at your campus to keep students coming to school, to have good attendance. There's a lot of different metrics that you can attach, but you need to set them as measurable, so you set specific goals that you can hit. And that, the end goal hopefully is a good percent.
I know that we're all working very hard, and you all are working very hard to improve that perception. I really appreciate that. Again, I just wanted to clarify this for some of our colored viewers who might have these same questions. One last question I have. With the, on here it said that there was a 39% teacher turnover. That was at the end, was that at the end of this last school year? Is that where that number came from? Okay. I mean, with having that large of a turnover based off of all the different reasons, it's hard to have good in all those other areas of the strategic plan. So trying to figure out how we change that and keep our great teachers that we have here as much as we're trying to do at our level. I know that y'all are working very hard to keep all these great teachers too, so whatever.
And that has a wide range of effects.
Yes.
And, accountability.
That's it.
Any other questions?
Are there any plans to change that Vision Week survey for two reasons? One, as a parent, taking it was an extremely frustrating survey. I wanted to take a survey about the survey because I took it for two different campuses and they didn't match at all. I was expecting the same questions, and the high school one had one question. Also because so few people took it, probably because they were frustrated with the 2022 one that they took.
I don't know if there are plans, but I know that, that we have talked about challenges with the survey.
We can certainly go back and look at how that was, and what happened at that time, and make adjustments.
Because this is related to a grant, there are requirements through that grant. However, we're the recipients of the grant, and so we should be able to drive a lot of what we want dictated as far as timelines, when, more alignment with the questions. And so I really do wish that we had an open-ended question that would ask for feedback about this particular time frame, questions, what is it that we're trying to get? I think that that would be more beneficial, and with the understanding from everybody, all parties, what is the purpose of this and how will it help improve the district? So we can certainly talk to our representatives about that.
Yeah, it seems like it's always been a challenge to get that participation from the community, and especially also the staff, I mean the staff, the parents. I think the students did participate to a certain extent, but they might have done it while they were in school. But, yeah, we can somehow, I'm sure the district will continue to work on that and try to increase that number of participation. 'Cause, I mean, we all see it, so there's some schools where they have greater participation or parental involvement than others. So some of them are doing something different than other elementary schools or middle schools to increase their participation. It's just a matter of looking into that. But thanks for the presentation. Are there any more questions?
I was just gonna say thank you. I sent them probably a whole page of questions.
Those were good questions, though.
And I didn't wanna like monopolize the time here and stuff, but a lot of it was just my ignorance of acronyms and things like that. And I just wanted to thank y'all for the timeliness of getting that information back to me.
We want to thank you because sometimes we need to be reminded that we can't speak in edu-speak and think that everybody's going to understand the acronyms. So thank you very much for allowing us to provide that clarity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just a reminder to the board members, they welcome the questions before our meetings, so that way it gives them some time to prepare to answer the questions, and also, in theory, makes the meeting shorter. So now we'll move on to item number 5, which is the closed session. Oh, I'm sorry, we'll go one more, 4D. We'll only Steve out.
You move on, you're good.
Technology device cycle plan. Steve on that will present.
All right, well, good evening, Ms. Seguin, Dr. Behiel, members of the board. I'm excited to come to you today to talk to you about something very important going on in the district. Talking through a device cycle plan to really take the opportunity to show you where we were, where we are, and where we're going. And so just a brief overview of what a device cycle plan is. Basically, a device cycle plan is a strategic way to manage your devices within the organization. The purpose of the plan is to really be as efficient as possible with funds, with value, and with the understanding of what the devices have with an impact on learning. The benefits of a device cycle plan, again, the most important is to improve student outcomes, be efficient with how we're spending our funds, and then also increase effectiveness for our teachers. Some of the challenges we face, of course, are our technology obsolescence. So we'll talk a little bit more later on about the importance of keeping the devices updated and how that works with testing and things of that sort. So making sure that we have a very strategic plan in place. That way each student has the opportunity to test on the device and be able to use those devices for instructional purposes. Another challenge, of course, is the limited budget. The rising cost of repair parts, the availability of repair parts, as well as the cost of each of the devices continue to go up because we are in competition with all the other districts around us in the state of Texas. And then again, making sure that we have equal access to technology devices for all students, particularly districts, with the diverse student populations that we have with varying socioeconomic backgrounds. So again, the importance of the device life cycle is long-term cost savings, improved student experiences, and enhanced learning environments. And then as we work through this, these are the things kind of where we're going. We're going to talk through the inventory management process, replacement strategies, some of the budget allocations that we have, and then of course creating that long-term sustainability plan. And for best practices in implementing a device cycle plan, we really want to look at alignment with our educational goals and goals within the strategic plan like we just heard, our stakeholder input, and as well as continuous improvement of our device cycle plan. So just to give you a brief history of Seguin ISD and where we are in regards to one-to-one devices. At our elementary campuses, K through 3, we have classroom iPads. In 4th and 5th grade, for the majority, we had Apple MacBooks. We're now transitioning them to Chromebooks to put them in a better device for a better testing environment. A newer device, so we're in that transition phase right now for our 5th grade, and we'll roll in 4th grade next year with our Chromebook devices. As far as the high school COVID really cost us into a forced one-to-one situation, and during the fall of 2020 and the summer right before, we bought everything and anything that we could. Devices were limited. We got our hands on whatever we could get our hands on, and it really forced our hand to what we had to buy. And so we'll talk about some of those specific devices here in a little bit. But we just got everything we could to support our students in that virtual environment. And so now, 3 years down the road, we're really having to overcome a lot of those purchases as well as other districts in putting things in place and replenishing those devices in mass. And then our middle schools, we shifted from classroom carts to plan take-home one-to-one, starting with the 22-23 school year. So this will be our second year with plan take-home one-to-one at the middle school as well. And the high school is also a take-home one-to-one. So our challenges, these are our current challenges in Seguin ISD. We have a high break fix rate, meaning that we have a lot of breaks and a lot of fix that we do every day throughout the day. We actually have now trained more of our technicians. We do all of our repairs in-house. It's more cost effective for us, and we've trained more of our technicians to be able to replace certified parts in some of these devices here. That way we can get the devices back in and back out to students as quickly as possible. We currently have no insurance plan, so this is something that we would think about moving forward, is how can we create an insurance plan for students that would cover the device of those years that they do have those. Again, like I mentioned before, we have limited supply of replacement parts. This year we actually had to add in an additional vendor for us to purchase Chromebook parts from because they're so scarce and everybody wants the same parts for the same devices. And of course, with simple supply and demand, there's an increase in cost of parts as well. And so we'll have some devices will cost upwards of $180 just for repair, just to get it back out there, versus the about $320 for the full replacement cost. And of course, we have time, if our technicians are replacing and repairing devices, they're not on campuses supporting teachers and fixing some of those other things to keep those day-to-day operational things happening classroom-wide. And then, of course, the other challenge that we face are updates with online testing. And so some of our devices, they still work, they connect to the internet, but Google has made it where they're obsolete, that they no longer can get those updates that are required for the Cambium testing software. So we have a good chunk of devices that we can't even use for testing anymore because of those updates that Google pushed out. So just a real quick device check-in, and this is kind of that break-fix process. And so this is kind of where we saw the problem and we started working on towards solutions. And so these were repair costs just at the end of the year. So at the end and the beginning of each school year, students return their device at the end of the year, and then they're checked the device back out at the beginning of the year where they don't take the devices home over the summer. And we do that strategically, for this purpose, where they aren't lost or stolen or anything happens to them over the summertime where they're not really using them for instructional purposes. But just at the high school, we had about $22,644 in repair just at the end of the year from what we received back in. HAB, we had about $12,000, and Barnes, we had about $16,000, for a total of just over $50,000 worth of repair. And so that's not even replacing or buying brand new devices, that's just repairing broken devices that we're still trying to repair as we work through them. So this summer I tasked our team to really come up with a plan on minimizing those break fixes by teaching and coaching and preparing students to have a better understanding of what their plan was with the device, and that it really is an instructional tool for them to use and to increase their accountability with that. And so we implemented a no tech without training strategy, in that we designed a mandatory Chromebook course for all 6th through 12th grade students. That way, before they received the device, they went through a course that they would take in their class to really kind of talk to them about the importance of taking care of the device and things of that sort. We also developed a Chromebook support site that we launched and we placed in their ClassLink accounts. So that way, if they go to their ClassLink, they can have the support site so they know if they have an issue, how to clean it, how to properly take care of it, things of that sort. So again, trying to front load those things and really be proactive with that teaching approach to the devices. We moved from an acceptable use policy that had kind of negative terminology to it, to a more positive, responsible use policy, meaning you're saying what you should do with the device, what are the proper uses, versus in a standard acceptable use device policy that basically states what you shouldn't do with the device. So try to be more positive and proactive with that. And then, again, created those Chromebook dashboards that we'll talk about next. So we did know that we needed to raise the accountability and also the awareness of what we saw on campuses. And so in the past year, what we found was that a device was reported broken through our technology work order system. It'd get taken to the library, one of our technicians would pick it up, we would repair it, it would go back to the library, go back to the student, and then there was really no tracking on that, on the back end side of who broke the device, what happened to the device, what was the cost of replacement, other than putting it in our inventory software. And then that way at the end of the year, parents were surprised, students were surprised that they had outstanding fines on these devices, as well as administrators. So what we did this year is we built these live dashboards here, and basically these were numbers that were pulled before Thanksgiving, and each campus has their own live dashboard where they can see what student has had what break on what device. So we tasked our technicians in our campus support team from technology to document all of those things, and then that way it would be shared with the administrator so they could have those conversations with the student and with the parent if they have repeat breaks, intentional breaks of the devices. So as you can see at that point, the high school was just under 3,000, Barnes was just under 2,000, and AJB was at about 1,200. So we were already making great strides in that process to save money just by documenting and holding students more accountable. So again, short-term solutions. And so campus device swaps, so in the past, students would use the excuse if they didn't bring their device to class, or excuse me, to school that day, they would go to the library, they'd get another device, and then they would have 2 devices checked out to them. So now we're doubling up on the cost of those. So we got rid of some of those, that process, where we're making it more mandatory, holding the students more accountable with bringing their device to school every day. And what we did as well is that we really repurposed our devices. We looked at what we had, we looked at what our needs were, and we really kind of did a shift of where our devices were going to go. We also implemented hard drive replacements, and so some of our older devices that were still in pretty good shape with their other internal components, we replaced our hard drives to a better hard drive to make them run better and faster and things of that sort. We implemented a process called Chrome Flex. So what we found through some research through our team is that we were able to take some of our older Mac devices and install a Chrome Flex operating system on it, so we can now use some of our older devices to test on Cambium and to operate as a Chromebook. So that way that saved us quite a bit of money to be able to repurpose some of those older devices. And the next one kind of goes to the image there, and it's a Band-Aid on a huge crack in the street. And we call it Frankenstein, and basically we take parts from some devices, put them in other devices, and really just make the use of what we have. And so one of the things that we did, and we're being purposeful with the devices that we're purchasing, is that some of those devices that can no longer be tested on, we can still take those parts and use them to repair our newer devices that can. It's all the same, most of the same parts. So again, another way to try to save money. Again, making use of older commission models to harvest parts, so that's kind of what I was talking about. We also have to have a software subscription on each of the Chromebooks, and so with that, we're also able to kind of repurpose that subscription as well. So doing everything we can in the short term to save the money that we can to put the best devices in student and teachers' hands. So just wanted to take you through a little bit of our current state of our devices. I've highlighted here, this is kind of an overview of where we are, and I've highlighted here some of where our needed areas are. So at the top, if we looked at our elementary, so this is going to be teacher devices, they're operating on 2017 iMacs. So that's 6 years or more old, and then we have 315 stations out, and those were all purchased in 2020. At Barnes, we have 2013 iMacs that were purchased in 2013. So again, more stations to think about and consider. So some of these we just released to a recycling pattern. That way we're able to, again, refresh and do other things. So if we look at DAEP there, they are operating on older iMacs with the Chrome Flex software installed on theirs. Going down to the high school, we're operating there on 2017 iMacs. So when the high school was constructed and moved in, they all had new iMacs there. We were able to bring in and repurpose some of those iMacs with other labs that we've kind of consolidated and moved into more of a Chrome atmosphere or environment. Moving down a little bit towards the end, this is what I was talking about here. So we have some of our older devices in our library. So we have 2014 iMacs in our library there, so another area that we would need to look at replacing. So going to the totality, I guess, of why we're discussing the device cycle plan here is to really, again, have a plan for each one of those areas there, and specifically the ones that are highlighted. So I'll talk through a little bit of the Chromebook models that we currently have. So we have just under 1,100 of the Dell 3180 models. And just to highlight a few things, so they no longer receive the updates as of June 2022, which means they cannot be used for testing. And so what we're doing with that, any new staff members that we have, we're issuing them that device. That way they're not going to use it for testing. They'll have their classroom workstation so they can run some of the tests on if they're doing practice tests and things of that sort. And so again, just being purposeful with what devices we're giving to who. The Acer model, so this is the Acer C871. This model creates a lot of issues for us in that it has a very fragile hinge here. So I have a couple of these that I'll show you, but basically just the opening of the normal wear and tear of opening and closing the device is breaking the hinges, making it where it's no longer usable. So we still currently have about 1,100 in use. 50 of those are used by staff members. And really those repairs are way more costlier and they take way more longer on those models. And this was the model that we had to purchase a decent amount of in the fall of 2020 because this is the only thing we could get our hands on during that COVID time. Our Dell 3100, so these we have about 2,500 of these. These have supported through Google through June 2029. That means they can still be tested on. These are still in pretty good shape, but these are really great models. And then our newest one is the Dell 3110. We purchased a little over 1,100 this summer, used by all students daily. Parts are readily available, and then the repairs come in a timely manner. And this is supported through the Google updates through June of 2031. So these are going to be our newest devices that we can test on. And so just to kind of bring up a couple of items here. So this was a device that made its way off of the second floor of the high school, and this was what's left of it. It is completely broke off from the side. You can see the hinges here. This is one of the biggest repair areas here are the hinges. This device here, another common issue that we find is that when it's dropped on the corner here, you can see, and I'll pass these around if you want a closer look, if it falls off a desk or it's dropped off the corner, it kind of hits these edges, and so it creates that issue there. And then lastly, this is the Acer device that we talked about. Basically, this hinge here will break, and when that hinge breaks, the device kind of just turns into this and is no longer usable at that point at all. So another measure that we've taken to be more proactive, and also considering our policy with our secondary campuses and now our elementary campuses are going to a clear backpack. We've implemented a plan to start pulling in some of those Chromebook bags that are black bags that can fit devices and other things in those bags. And so now we're starting a plan to distribute out hard cases that would also not only be a case that would basically slip into one of the clear backpacks, but it's also going to protect the edges there. So we have about 400 of those cases that we purchased, and we're going to roll those out to the high school coming in January. And kind of give a tester for that case and see where we go from there with that. So again, trying to be as proactive as we can and meet the standards of the schools. So really looking at implementing that device plan. So first step really is to that assessment and that planning piece, which is what we're here doing now, is assessing where we are, what our goals are, and where we want to go. And then it's really implementing the plan, having a great inventory, having a great device plan, holding students accountable, working with administrators, making sure we're all working on the same page. And then again, providing proper training and support. And then of course, being able to evaluate our plan. How can we be better? You know, what insurance can we purchase? Can we create a plan? These are some other things that I've thought about. And then we thought about as a team, can we create a plan? If a student is issued a device as a freshman, they keep that device until they graduate, and as a reward to them, maybe they keep the device and they can take it to college with them. If you made it last that long, you're not costing us time and money. We want to reward your hard work in that. So just exploring some of those ideas, talking with neighboring districts, because we're not the only one facing this issue. It's a lot of different people in our area that we connect with. So the key takeaways, again, I'll just speak to the part in yellow there. It really ensures long-term cost savings by avoiding unplanned expenses and obsolete devices, and not only that, making sure we have the best devices in our hands for instruction. And then again, most importantly, creating that enhanced learning environment that promotes collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and again, keeping the student and instruction at the top of our minds. I know that was fast and furious, and we created a lot of chat there, so I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
So I guess my question would be, you have $55,000, is that the slide that the repairs so far this year on devices?
Yes, sir, that slide, great question, thank you, I'll go back to it. So that slide were just the devices that we took in at the end of the school year last year. And so that doesn't account what we spent throughout the year on our break fix process, because we didn't have a way to measure that. We didn't have a way to have that in place. That was just after we received everything in and we totaled everything out during the summertime.
How many devices make up that $50,000?
So I would say, that's another great question too. I can go back and actually look at the models and the things of that sort. But I would say, I mean, that's,
Average price per repair?
average price for repair is going to be around $100. The new device costs, the newer devices that we're purchasing now cost $320 per device. Yes, sir. And so that's actually with the cost moving up and us trying to get a model that's similar to what we have. And so we do pay a little bit more to stick with the Dells because of having those interchangeable parts. Yes, sir. And we reviewed about. Absolutely. And so right now, if the device gets up about $150, then it's not worth the repair anymore. It's worth the replacement at that point. And on some of these Acer models, the most expensive component in it is the motherboard and the daughter board of that model. And so if those go out, then we just don't replace that one anymore because we're really trying to phase that one out. But if something else goes bad on it, like the screen, then we take that motherboard and we save it to put it in another one if we need it. Yes, sir, of course.
If a student turns in the device for service, are they given a loaner device? How does that work?
Yes, ma'am. Another great question. So that's something else that we changed last year. What we found is that we wanted to minimize the amount of time that students didn't have a device. And so on your first break, and our technicians are trained well enough to see what like an intentional break is versus a non-intentional break. Could be an issue with the device, could be the built-in software or hardware, could be something that was wrong with the device. But basically what we did to minimize the time is that when a student turns in that device, we check it back into us and then we check a device back out to them. So they don't ever really go without a device unless you're on your second break, and then that's the time where we have to bring in the parent. And we meet and we talk about the consequences and things of that sort for some of those intentional things. But again, our goal is to make sure that all students have what they need during that time period. Yes, ma'am.
Got one other question I forgot to ask on the $50,000 part. Is that including the time of the people that are repairing the computer, repairing the device?
Yes, sir.
You have to factor that in too as far as.
Correct. Another great question. And so.
To take care of stuff, you have to factor all that into that. So.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So that's another thing we took into consideration because doing those. It doesn't include that cost, but doing those repairs in-house, we essentially had one person that was doing it, and that person, that was the only thing that they would do most of the summer long, and we needed to spread the wealth a little bit in that, so that's where we went back and we trained some more of our technicians so they can do those repairs as well and get those in and out as quick as we can. So our high school staff members, both of them are trained to do repairs. We have 4 technicians here that are trained to do repairs, and then 2 at each middle school that are trained to do repairs now. So those come to the campus, they stay on the campus, they get repaired, and they get sent back. And when they need new parts, they communicate with us, we purchase the parts, and we get them back out to them as quick as we can. Yes, sir.
So just what Carl was talking about, for next year, when we do this again, could you incorporate those costs to the labor costs? This is just the repair parts, right? It's not the labor
Yes,
costs.
sir.
To
Correct.
incorporate that for us the next time?
Yes, sir, 100%.
You already answered 3 or 4 of my questions. One of them was that, yeah, don't forget those parts as far as the time, and also if you send them out, it take a week or 2 to get it back. So if you have it in-house, you turn it on a lot quicker.
Yes, sir.
And I know ESSER funds are over, right? We stopped using ESSER funds for buying computers 2 years ago, maybe?
This is the last year, yes, sir.
Okay. So after next year, we're on our own.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
I have my computer still.
Well, great questions. I appreciate your time. And again, we see good things coming for us. It's just a work in progress right now, so we're excited to bring it back to you next year. Hopefully with, my goal is to reduce that number by half, at least half. And so I'll put that on our staff members to make sure that we're working with administrators to be able to do that.
Thank you, Stephen, and staff for the hard work.
Appreciate it.
So now item number 5 is the closed session. Board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meeting Act. 5A, pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.071, 551.074, 551.129, consultation with legal counsel, including possible telephone consultation with legal counsel, as necessary, to address legal concerns, implications, and answer any legal questions regarding posted agenda items. 5B, pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.074, discuss personnel matters, including appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of employee or employees. 5C, pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.072, discuss the sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. So it is 8:17, and we'll now go to closed session. Items, if necessary, as discussed in closed session, and we have no action for item number 6. So now we'll move on to item number 7, consent agenda. Consider and possible approval of applicable policy, BE local states that the consent agenda shall include items of routine and or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote, without separate discussion, unless a board member requests an item to be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under a single motion and vote is applicable. 7A, approval of board minutes of regular meeting, October 30, 2023, and special meeting, November 14, 2023. 7B, approval of tax collection report for October 2023. 7C, approval of investment report for the first quarter ended September 30th, 2023. 7D, approval of donations received October 2023. 7E, approval of tax roll levy for 2023 tax year. 7F, adoption of resolution stating review of investment policy and designation of investment officers. 7G, approval of resolution approving independent sources of instruction relating to investment responsibilities. 7H, approval of district-wide vehicle maintenance parts and Services, RFP 24-01. 7I, approval of district-wide facilities maintenance electrical equipment, parts and services, RFP 2404. 7J, approval of district-wide educational consulting services, RFP 24-06. 7K, authorization of agreement between Seguin ISD and Kingsbury Rehabilitation Network for residential care services at a cost of $315,000. 7L, information regarding purchases through the Board Purchasing Cooperative for a total cost of $198,619. 7M, information regarding the contract between Seguin ISD and the Holterwood Center in the amount of $300,000. 7N, information regarding the contract between Seguin ISD and Stars Private Investigations, LLC, in the amount of $185,000. 7O, submission of class waiver to the Texas Education Agency. 7P, personnel information, professional employees. 7Q, acknowledge Public Information Act request from October through November 2023. Does any member?
Mr. President, I move to accept all consent items listed through A through Q.
Wait a second. Motion has been passed by Mr. Bright, seconded by Ben Amador, to approve all the consent items. Any discussions? Any discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed, 7-0. So now we'll move into section 8, the action items. 8A, approval of authorized representatives for First Commercial Bank N.A., Lone Star Investment Pool, Texas Pool, Logic, and Texas Class, MBIA, and the presenter is Perla Romero.
Yes. Good evening, President Guerra, Dr. Vigil, and members of the board. This will allow Dr. Vigil to access our bank accounts and be an authorized user. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. President, I move for approval of authorized representatives for First Commercial Bank in a Lone Star Investment Pool, Texas Pool, Logic, and Texas Class MBIA.
Second.
Motion has been made by Linda Duncan and seconded by Joshua Bright for item 8A. Are there discussions? Any discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed, 7-0. Item 8B, discussion and approval of the fund balance compliance requirements.
Yes, this item shows you our fund balance. So our ending fund balance for 22-23 per our audit is $34.5 million, with our minimum requirement being $17 million. So that is fund balance that we cannot expend. Right now we're sitting at $16 million of unassigned fund balance that we are allowed to expend, but we are about to request a total fund balance assignment for 23-24 of amount of $11 million. All fund balance assignments are listed there for you to view, and these are going to leave us at around $5.1 million for 23-24 school year. This isn't a set in stone number. I would like to make that very clear. The largest item that we have is for COVID initiatives that was passed almost a year ago for $5 million. If we make decisions to where we don't expend that $5 million, we will have more remaining in our fund balance. And we are also waiting on on legislation to see if they're going to up our state funding. So that may also up our fund balance. So this is just estimated. It's not set in stone, but it could be a reality of where we sit in fund balance for the 23-24 school year.
I'm taking the fun out of the fun.
Yes.
Are there any questions to the board members? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. President, I move to accept the resolution of assignment of fund balance.
Do I hear a second? Motion has been made by Colonel Jenkins,
Fund balance.
fund balance. Yes. Item 8C.
Where the
Discussion, oh, yes. So item,
Approval of the fund balance compliance requirement.
motion has been made to approve action item 8B. Discussion and approval of fund balance compliance requirement. Motion was made by Carl Jenkins and second by Ben Amador. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed, 7-0. Move on to item 8C, adopt a resolution for the assignment of fund balance.
Yes, the first line item, these have already been board approved. All the other line items I am asking tonight for approval. Again, for the 23-24 school year, we are looking at assigning $11.7 million of fund balance.
Mr. President, I move to approve the resolution for the assignment of fund balance as presented.
Motion has been made to approve item 8C by Joshua Bright, second by Linda Duncan. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed, 7-0. Item 8D, approval of the general contractor for the baseball and softball complex at Seguin High School, RFCSP 2407.
Yes, we are recommending that Field Turf USA have the construction project for our baseball and softball fields. They did not attend the pre-bid meeting, but they did attend the initial meeting that we had for the baseball and softball fields, so we are asking that it be waived in accordance with the request for proposal. So that's our recommendation, Field Turf USA.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the general contractor for the baseball and softball complex at Seguin High School in reference to RFCSP number 24-07.
Motion has been made by Linda Duncan to approve item 8D as read, and second by Ben Amador. Are there any discussions? Any discussions?
And this is for the entire softball field complex, correct?
That's correct. We will ask them to also include the batting cages.
Any further discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed, 7-0. Thank you, Furman. The last item is auction 8E, official ballot to cast votes for the Board of Directors for the Guadalupe Appraisal District for 2024-2025 term, and a resolution for the submission.
Mr. President, I move that we cast, that Seguin ISD casts their 852 votes for Ben Amador.
Motion has been made. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made by Denise and second by Joshua Bright to approve action item 8E is read. Any discussions? Any discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, motion passed.
No, I
Oh,
abstain.
sorry. There's two. Let's do that again. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's 5-0. 5 yes and 2 abstain.
Mr. President, I just want to explain, I abstain because there's another person on the list that happened to be my boss, and so I decided it was best for me to abstain and vote.
Item number 9, board comments and requests. Does any board member have any comments or requests for the meeting?
Are we really not seeing each other before Christmas?
Well, I want to I would like to invite everyone on the SLT and the board to Weiner next week for the holiday shop. All the kids come and shop for their families. And if you are not in the Christmas spirit, it will put you in the Christmas spirit to watch kindergartners try to shop for their parents. It goes on all day through the school day. And if you just come on, we'll send you. It's every day next week.
I just wanted to say that I too want to invite everyone, and I thank you, Dr. McGill, for talking about the KWD Holiday Food and Toy Drive. So I invite you all to come and have fun with us and collect money from folks, and for you yourselves, if you're so inclined to bring a donation, either of a toy or food or monetary donations. But we do have a lot of fun and serve snacks too. So you can come have breakfast with us.
I'm gonna be there.
Awesome.
I'll be there also.
We'll miss you, Dr. Vanille.
You'll be there in spirit.
But also, thank you for all you've done, stepping in and being our interim superintendent. Things seem to be trucking along, and I just want you to know that you're appreciated, and your staff as well.
And Merry Christmas to everybody.
Oh, yeah, Merry Christmas. So now, item number 10, adjourn the meeting.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn.
Motion has been made by Carlos Jenkins and second by Benham Alua to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, raise your hand.